Welcome, everybody. The train is rolling on again today. We're in chapter 7 in the book of 2nd Esdras. And I want everybody to note here how Jesus Christ is here in this angel. Okay? There can be no doubt about it. And so you get these kind of prophecies. Sometimes Christ appears, okay, before the prophet. And here in this part, there can be no doubt about it that this is Christ. So sometimes Christ speaks through the angel, and sometimes Christ can appear. But it talks about the narrow way. And, Christ defends that narrow way. And he talks about Christ in judgment, and that God has not made paradise in vain, and he's very merciful, okay? And there's stuff here about the pitfalls, and what does Christ think about the trials and tribulations and pitfalls that we all face as human beings, as his treasure, as his saints. So here we are in 2nd Esdras, and we're in chapter 7, and we're in verse 1. It says, and this is at the end of his prayer, and when I had made an end of speaking these words, there was sent unto me the angel which had been sent unto me the nights afore. 2, and he said unto me, Up, Esdras, and hear the words that I am come to tell thee. All right, so now this is either Uriel or it's Jesus Christ, but Uriel, if it's Uriel, he's speaking the words of Jesus Christ here, okay? You tell me, folks. I'll read it, you decide. 3, it says, and I said, Speak on, my God, capital G, period. Then said he unto me, The sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. For this is a similitude here, folks. But put the case, the entrance were narrow and like a river, okay? That's our gate. That's our door, folks, into salvation. 5, it says, Who then could go into the sea to look upon it and to rule it? If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? So how are we going to get to paradise? But through the narrow door and the narrow way. Okay, in 6, it says, There is also another thing. A city is builded, okay, and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. See, that's the New Jerusalem. Okay. 7, the entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water. So there we are. We're marching straight ahead, folks. And we cannot go left or right. This is a narrow door. Christ is the door. He is the way. And we cannot waver here in 7. In 8 it says, And one only path between them both. Yeah, that's Christ. Even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. It reminds me of that song, I'm going to walk the lonesome valley. Walk it by yourself, remember? That's an old gospel tune. Anyway, so and in 8 it says, And one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive his inheritance? Question mark. Well, I'm sure that everybody knows that similitude there. So I'll just read on. 10, and I said, It is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, Even so also is Israel's portion, because for their sakes I made the world. And when Adam transgressed my statutes, capital S, then was decreed that now is done. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils, and very painful. How about that? That's life, man. 13, for the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. 14, if then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. 15, now therefore, why disquietest thou thyself, seeing thou art but a corruptible man? Question mark. And why art thou moved, whereas thou art but mortal? Question mark. Why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing that is to come, rather than that which is present? How about that for today? 17, then answered I and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, thou hast ordained in thy law, capital L, that the righteous should inherit these things, but that the ungodly should perish. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for wide. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wide. 19, and he said unto me, there is no judge above God, and none that hath understanding above the highest. Period. 20, for there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law, capital L, of God, capital G, that is set before them. And that is the doctrine, folks. That is the written word. Thou shalt not kill. That was on the tablets. And law is a term for all the doctrine. 21, for God hath given straight commandment to such as came what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Period. And that's all in the written word. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things. All right, and that is on an acceleration course today, as people blaspheme through the roof today. But what else are they doing today? In 23, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and knew not his ways. But his law have they despised, and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works. Period. All right. Like I said, we have people setting after school Satan hour for kids. We have them putting the 10 Commandments next to Baphomet. We have all kinds of blasphemy going on. pretend Christians that are now blaspheming, writing the new 10 Commandments there on a fake Mount Sinai. I mean, this blasphemy is going on, folks. It just is, and I don't care. You just listen closely. If you know the doctrine and you listen to these people, it's a slam dunk. I mean, there's nothing to be said. You get into the Bible, and then you'll know what real blasphemy is. And I'm not talking to you studiers, but maybe there's somebody new that doesn't know exactly what is meant here. They're blaspheming his law, and that is the Bible, folks. That is his doctrine. That is the written word that he has given us for our edification and guidance. 25, and therefore, Esdras, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are the full things. 26, behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen, and now is withdrawn from the earth. Okay, that is the New Jerusalem, the bride of Christ, and she shall appear in the heavens after the trumpets. Yes, indeed, and that's why the Antichrist starts to blaspheme the host of heaven and the heaven of heavens, because it's visible there at the end of the trumpets. Okay, there in the book of Revelation. Okay, and this bride of Christ, which we're all part of, we're collectively the bride of Christ. We're grafted into that New Jerusalem temple, all of us. And it's going to make its appearance during the book of Revelations. So why would we be fearful of the book of Revelations? All right, I got to stay focused here. 27. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. Okay? Now listen to this. If this is not the voice of God, either speaking through Uriel or anyway, listen to this. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. For my Son Jesus shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. All right, that 400 years there is to his birth. Okay? So there we have his name, Yeshua, which is translated into English out of the Greek, Jesus. And remember that J and Y are interchangeable in Old English. Also H, because there was no standard way of spelling. All right? So if you say Joshua, the one that fought the Battle of Jericho, like up here in 37, it's Jesus, but that's Joshua. All right? Here, and that's what I'm saying, the ambiguities of language and the spellings of languages, and we can't get muddled up because of that, because of not having a standard way of spelling when this was written in 1611. We know who we're talking about. The birth of Christ is prophesied right here in 28. 28, the number of generations from David to Christ. Okay, now listen to this. After these years shall my Son Christ die, and all men that have life. So what was it? This was to his birth, 400 years. That all men should have life, and that's us. All those written in his book. 30, and the world shall be turned into the old silence 7 days. Now we just went to the end of time. Like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. Okay? And this is the recreating of the world here, folks. And this is specific about the recreating of the world again. And shouldn't that be exactly right to have it a 7-day creation here? Listen, 31, and after 7 days the world that yet awaketh not shall be raised up, and that shall die that is corrupt. So there's the new Jerusalem, the bride of Christ, the new world, the new heaven, the new earth, right here in these 4 prophecy scriptures. 32, and the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her. That's the resurrection. And so shall the dust those that dwell in silence, and the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. 33, and by secret it means the places that we're not privy to in the flesh. 33, and the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and the long-suffering shall have an end. Okay? So what's he telling Esdras? This is our victory. This is what we got to look forward to, not the old days, not the old way. Notice the seat of judgment here in all this. Okay? But yet for us, it's the end of misery. All right? And judgment being a good word, not a bad word. 34, but judgment only shall remain, truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. See, it's all our victory, folks. The book of Revelations is nothing to run from. It's our complete and utter victory. 35, and the work shall follow, and the reward shall be shewed, and the good deeds shall be of force, and wicked deeds shall bear no rule. 36, the number of black keys on the keyboard, 666. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the Sodomites, and Moses for the fathers that sinned in the wilderness, and Jesus after him for Israel in the time of Achan. Okay, and that Jesus, if you go out of the Hebrew, would be Yeshua or Joshua, depending on which J or Y. 38, and Samuel and David for the destruction, and Solomon for them that should come to the sanctuary. All right, and it's Elias here, but it's Elias for those that received rain, and for the dead that he might live. So that's the raising of the dead back in the Old Testament. And Ezekias, which is Ezekiel out of Hebrew, and Ezekias for the people in the time of Sennacherib, and many for many. 41, even so now, seeing corruption is grown up, and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly. Wherefore shall it not be so now also? 42, he answered me and said, This present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. 44, intemperancy is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. So we're looking at the world tomorrow. We're looking past the end of our nose, folks, like the ungodly cannot do. The ungodly cannot see that. It's hard to believe that they are in love with this world, but they are. And they can't see. They're carnal people. And so they're not looking for the world tomorrow, the new heaven and the new earth. But we're taught to do that here in 2nd Esdras chapter 7. 45, then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory. So you see, this Antichrist affliction that we're under will be gone, and no one can stop our reward. 46, I answered then, this is Esdras answering back, I answered then and said, this is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the earth to Adam, or else when it was given him, to have restrained him from sinning. 47, listen to this arguing back. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death to look for punishment? Question mark. See, folks, you will get this question. You will get this question as a Christian. Now listen to Esdras here. O thou Adam, what hast thou done? Question mark. For though it was thou that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. 49, the 7 sevens. For what profit is it unto us if there be promised us an immortal time, whereas we have done the works that bring death? 50, the number of the year Jubilee. And that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves, being most wicked, are made vain. Vanity is the earthly ungodliness, unprofitableness, things that don't profit the spirit, things that will vanish away with the world. Vanity. 51, and that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly. See? And there's the forgiveness of the sins through Jesus Christ. Is it or is it not? But on we go. And as he's questioning, and that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a wary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all. Question mark. And that there should be shewed a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security in medicine, sith we shall not enter into it. Okay? So, he's a very humble man here, by the way. For we have walked in unpleasant places. 55, and that the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than blackness. See how humble he is? Question mark. And he's concerned about his people. He just is here, and he's going to get corrected. 56, for while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. He's talking about the carnal people. 57, then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight. How about that? Are we in a war, folks? We are. We are. That if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. Okay? So that's what we're shooting for. And notice this. Paul called it running a race or fighting a good fight, putting on the armor of God. All these similitudes all fit with this. Do they or do they not, folks? 59, for this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people while he lived, saying, choose thee life that thou mayest live. And that's back in the book of Deuteronomy. Nevertheless, they believed not him, nor yet the prophets after him. no, nor me, which have spoken unto them. See, he's pining away over his people here. And of course, it's not everybody that he's pining away for, because there's people that believe it's just a remnant, folks. It's a small remnant, it is. And this is the only fight worth fighting. It just is. There's no other fight worth fighting other than this fight that God Almighty is explaining to the angel here. This is the fight of all fights. Anyway, so they didn't believe the prophets, they didn't believe Moses, and they're not believing Esdras. 61, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction, as shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. 62, I answered then and said, I know, Lord, that the Most High is called merciful, in that he hath mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world. Okay, 63, the number of generations from Adam to Christ, and upon those also that turn to his law, and that he is patient and long suffereth those that have sinned, and his creatures. Okay, 64, and that he is patient and long suffereth those that have sinned as his creatures, that's human beings. 65, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where it needeth. 66, and that is of great mercy, for he multiplieth more and more mercies to them that are present and that are past, and also to them which are to come. On we go with his words here. For if he shall not multiply his mercies, the world would not continue with them that inherit therein. And he pardoneth, for if he did not so of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquities might be eased of them, the 10,000th part of men should not remain living. And remember that number, 10,000 of the saints there, folks. 69, and being judge, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word, get that, with his word, cured with a word, and put out the multitude of contentions, there should be very few left. Peradventure, in an innumerable multitude. Now this 70 is a Septuagint. That's the interesting part about the doctrine being named because a Septuagint is 7, 70, 72 for the 72,000 square furlongs of the New Jerusalem temple there at the end of Ezekiel, and then 77 is also those sevens. That is what is known as a Septuagint. It's a derivative of 7. Okay. All right. Now, as we get into chapter 8, he's going to say that this paradise is created for a few. It's not created for everybody. So this little bickering match over good versus evil and saved versus not saved, and the pining away over his people, not listening to the holy people that were sent. This is going to keep going on here. As he asks these questions that, again, people are going to ask you, and we're going to get the answers from God Almighty through Christ to Uriel. Uriel is going to give the answers from God Almighty here. And so this is going to go on. It's going to be very fascinating, folks, and I will see you all as this continues in this prophecy, history, all the above, this absolute wonderful book the book of 2nd Esdras. See you in 8, folks. Bye.